Since the dawn of time, there's been one game that has dominated the card scene. It has changed the tides of history. It has manipulated the deepest seats of government. It is only played by the most secret of organizations. And now, I will teach you this ancient game. Today, I will teach you Sushi Go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of our Game On series. My name is Tyson Fraley, and I'm very happy to welcome you to a very quick guide to Sushi Go. Sushi Go is not a very complicated game. It's quite simple, actually, and so I thought it might be a good change of pace as opposed to the long-running Strahd series that we just concluded. Sushi Go can be played with up to 5 players, and there's no planning required. You just have your 5 friends, and you game on. Depending on the amount of players you have, you'll be drawing a hand size dependent. As the number of players increase, the hand size decreases, on and on, equal amounts. So if it's 2 players, 10 cards, 3 players, 9 cards, 4 players, 8 cards, and so on and so forth. The object of the game is to gain as many points as possible. The way that you do that is playing certain cards onto the field and certain combinations of cards. Now, what makes the game interesting is that you do not keep your own hand that you've drawn from. Every time that you play a card, you take your hand and you pass it to the person on the left. It breaks up and it kind of differentiates against the usual card strategies that you'd otherwise be required to make. There are a total of 8 different cards that you can play. 5 of these are actual score-generating cards, while the 3 others are modifiers, different things that could help change the course of the game. First up is Mackie Rolls. You want to be the person who has collected the most and played the most on the table. If you're the person with the most, you gain a startling 6 points. The second person gains 3, and the remaining people after that don't get nothing. Tempura is next. Tempura is set up in sets. From these sets, you want to be able to play 2. Once you're able to play 2, you gain 5 points. Sashimi, you want a set of 3. If you can get a set of 3, then you gain 10 points. Next up, Dumplings. Dumplings are especially powerful because they're a multiplier card. The number of points established by Dumplings is dependent on how many cards you have. The number of cards of Dumplings that you have is then multiplied by 3, and that's your point outcome. Therefore, you could come out with a big chunk of change with a good few Dumplings in there. Last one is Nigiri. There's Squid Nigiri, which is 3 points, Salmon Nigiri, which is 2 points, and Egg Nigiri, which is 1 point. Next up is the Wasabi card. The Wasabi card can only be played on the next Nigiri. When you play your next Nigiri, your Nigiri's point total is tripled. Next up is Chopsticks. Chopsticks is a special ability which you can play, which allows you to play 2 cards in your hand as opposed to just the 1. This potentially allows you to strategize if you got a particularly good hand and you don't want your opponents to. The last card are Puddings. Well, Puddings can be a bit of a double-edged sword. If you play them, make sure you have a lot of them. If you have a lot of them, then you're going to get a pretty good point bump at 6 points. However, if you have the least, you get negative 6 points, which can kind of ruin your entire endgame if you're not careful. A round lasts for as long as you have cards in your hand. You play a card, pass it to the person on the left, they play a card, and so on and so forth, until no one has any cards in their hands. Points are accrued and totaled amongst yourselves, and whoever comes out with the most points over 3 rounds wins. It's a very short, basic game to grasp hold of, which makes it a great game night game. It's also a great game if you just want to play something and don't want to have to worry about planning or anything huge. It's just a very relaxing, easygoing opportunity to be able to, well, hate your friends for betraying you or stabbing you in the back, or your own hubris if you try to play more pudding cards than the other players and then turn out the least amount. So, in which case, thank you very much for watching, and remember, game on, my friends.